Okay, good morning class. So today we're looking at analytical geometry, grade 11, yes. Okay, we're looking at chapter 4, the revision. In grade 10 you've learned about the formula for distance between 2 points, the midpoint of a line segment and the gradient of the line segment. Well, that we spoke about, the equation of the straight line, which is in the form of y equals mx plus c. Okay, if lines are parallel, what do we know? Gradients are equal. If lines are perpendicular, product of the gradients negative 1, and if points are collinear, gradients are equal. Okay, which means to say, what does collinear mean? Basically, lines are the same line. Okay. So given the point P, XP and YP, and XQ and YQ in the Cartesian plane, that's the formula given. Okay. However, now we will use the formula as follows. I think last year I've also done it with you like this. If you're working out the distance of a line, which is maybe PQ, it's going to be the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay? And the gradient is the same as we did before, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. As well as the midpoint. The midpoint is going to be x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay. I see here they put xq minus xp plus squared and so on. Okay. But on the formula sheet you should be getting yourself familiarized already with. It's x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1. There's no x in, there's no q and p on that. Okay. So the midpoint, we just spoke about that formula now. Gradient of a straight line is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. However, if you're putting the y coordinate of q first, then the x coordinate of q must be first. Can you see that? So it's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Otherwise, if it's y1 minus y2, then it must be x1 minus x2. That's very important. And why do you think they're telling me that xq or x1 can never be equal to x2? That's, the denominator will then be equal to 0, and the sum will be undefined. Okay. Application of the basic formula. Number 1, the distance formula. So let's look here quickly. This is the example 1 on page. Example 1 on page 81. So if P, which is 4 and 8, Q is 0, and P is 4 and 8, O is 0 and 0, and R is negative 4 and 4. Are the vertices, now the vertices are the endpoints basically, okay, where the lines meet, of POR. Prove that POR is an isosceles. People, what is isosceles? Two sides or two angles are equal. Now we're not talking about angles here, no? We're talking about the distance formula that there needs to be used. So we're going to work out the distance. So we must prove that at least 2 of the 3 sides are equal. Not so. So let's go with the distance of PQ. So we say PQ is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay. So we're going with P, 4 and 8. Q, of course, is 0 and 0. So if I make this x1, that will be y1, this will be x2, y2. So that gives us the square root of 0 minus 8 squared plus 0 minus 4 squared. Okay? Put that in the calculator. Square root of 8 squared plus 4 squared gives us 4 root 5. Okay. Now I go with OR. Okay. So O's coordinate again is 0 and 0. Of course I said O there, not Q. O, and then R is negative 4 and 4. You see the substitution will be the square root of, if this is x1, y1, that is x2, y2. if I made this x1 or x2, then that had to be y2. Okay. So x2, which is negative 4 minus 0 squared, plus 4 minus 0 squared. Let's put that in the calculator. If the answer comes to 4 root 5, the job is done. If it's not, I'll test it for the third side. So it's going to be 4 squared, the square root of 4 squared. Square root of 4 squared. What's going on now? 4 squared plus 4 squared gives us 4 root 2. Are these lengths equal, people? No. So what must I do? Test it for the third one, the third side, which is PR. You all okay with that, people? So this test for PR. So PR again, do I have to write the formula every time down? No. Do I have to write this on the side here? No. You don't have to. But it's a good guide for us, okay? So sometimes we write PR, but then we're working out PO or OR. Okay, so just write it on the side. Make a habit of it. Let's see, it will help you in the long run. Again, if I make this x1 the y1, this is going to be x2, y2. Okay. So it's going to be y2, which is 4 minus 8 squared, plus negative 4 minus 4 squared. Okay. Let's put that in the calculator. It's the square root of 4 minus 8 is minus 8, which is 4 squared, because of the squared remains positive. Okay, plus negative 4 minus 4 is negative 8, so it's going to be 8 squared. Or you can punch it in the calculator as it is then. Okay, I'm just struggling with the calculator now. So I'm just doing that here. People, what do you notice? We notice now that Q and PQ, PO, sorry, suppose I've been an owner. PO and OR is the same. Can you see that, people? So, isn't both 4 root 5? PR and OQ. PO. Sorry. It must be PO. Okay. You guys agree with that? So how do we conclude this? We are moving too fast. Okay, so how do I conclude? Since PR is equal to PO, which is equal to 4 root 5. Therefore, triangle POR is isosceles. Why? Two sides are equal in length. Will you guys understand? Alright. Guys still writing? Can I move on? Okay. I'm going to try and centralize the board. Collaborate. The word I was trying to use is calibrate. Okay. Not collaborate. Alright. People, any questions here? Any issues? Right. So let's carry on with our lives. Now we're looking at example 2, and example 2 is on page? Also on 81. Huh? Yes. Example 2, page 81 as well. Okay. So here we are told a triangle, and here they gave us a triangle. A triangle ABC is a right angle triangle. People, if you've got a right angle triangle, what comes to mind? 90 degrees. Yes, and more than that? The right hand, more than that? More than 90 by Pythagoras. So it might be that we need to use the Pythagorean theorem. We don't have to always, but as I said, it might be. Okay. So let's look. We are told that in example 2, The triangle ABC is a right angle at B. Okay, as you can see on the diagram here. A, which is negative 3 and 9, B, which is 3 and 5 and 3, C, which is negative 1 and negative 5, are the vertices or the endpoints of the meeting points of the triangle. Determine the area of triangle ABC using analytical methods. People, if they say analytical methods, you must use analytical geometry, which is the distance, gradients, and so on. Okay. But because we're busy with distance formula, we're of course going to work out the distance. How do you calculate the area of a triangle, a right angle triangle? Of base times height. So what's going to be your base here? AC. Or is AC going to be your height? CB is going to be your base, and your height is going to be? AB. AC. It's AB. Remember, if you got a right angle triangle, no? This is your base and that is your perpendicular height. Not so. Even if that triangle is rotated, the one is still your base and the other is still your height. Why? It's to do with the 90 degrees. Can you guys see that? Otherwise, on the other end, we have this here. That is your perpendicular, so that's your base and that is your perpendicular height. Not so. Even though if you rotate that way, this will still be your base and that still be your perpendicular. You guys understand? And the other one as well, is just completed instead of leaving it out. There's your base and there's your perpendicular height, if that's 90. And I can rotate it again as well. Okay? Do people understand? Right. So in pursuit of calculating the area of triangle ABC, we need to calculate the length of AB, and we have to work out the length of BC. So let's go. So the area, the length of AB is equal to the square root of, who remembers the formula? AB is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay. So AB, what's the coordinates of A? Negative 3 and 9, and B 5 and 3. Again, if I make that x1 y1, x2 y2. Okay. Let's do the substitution. What would we get? Negative 3 minus 5 squared plus 9 minus 3 squared. Okay. So what do I do now? Plug it into the calculator. Or if you're that kind of girl that want to use your head, no problem. So 8 squared plus 6 squared. I think it's going to give you 100, which is 10. You guys understand? Alright, but if you're not comfortable doing it in your head, you can use a calculator to be safe. Okay? So that's going to give you 10. Then you're going to work out the length of BC. How do you work out BC? Same. Do I have to write the formula down again? No. Normally just write the formula down once. Okay, so it's x2 minus x2 y2, x1 y1. Again, if you had made b x1 y1, then c would be x2 y2. Okay, that will be the square root of 5 minus minus 1. No? And 5 minus minus 1, it becomes plus 1 squared plus 3 minus minus 5, which is plus 5. You all agree with that? So 5 plus is 6, 36, plus 64 is again 100, which is 10. Can somebody just confirm that? Is it correct? Right. Have I answered the question? No. What was the question to calculate the area? So area of a triangle is going to be half base times perpendicular. So you go half. What's my base? 10. And what's my perpendicular height? also 10. So it's going to give you an answer 50 units squared. People, is there any confusion at this point? Any questions? Let's look at example 3. And example 3 is on page. Okay, this is again example 1, but it's dealing now with the midpoint. Okay. And which page is this on? 82. Okay, so the midpoint formula I've dealt with last year, or we dealt with last year, was x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. That's the formula we used. Okay. Now we're looking at this. Some here. Okay, so the question says calculate the midpoint. Calculate the coordinates of M, the midpoint of line segment joining the points P, which is negative 3 and 8, and Q, which is 9 and 1. Okay. So where do we start, people? We started with a formula. Not so. And the midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. This was explained how they got the formula in grade 10. Okay. So if we make P x1, y1, then Q will be x2, y2. Not so. So that will be M. x1 is negative 3 plus 9 over 2. And then we got 8 plus 1 over 2. You will understand. Is there any confusion? Ayat, am I moving too fast? You with me? So my gradient is negative 3 plus 9 is divided by 2 is 3. 8 plus 1 is 9 over 2. Okay, is there any confusion? Okay, you guys with us? Another way of representing 9 over 2 can be 4.5 or 4.5 the same. Alright. Right. Let's look at the next one, example 2. Example 2, page 83. Example 2 on page 83. If M, which is 7 and negative 4 is the midpoint. Now listen, we are given now the midpoint of the line segment QP. Where Q is the point negative 3 and 6, as you can see in the diagram, determine the coordinates of P. Determine the coordinates of P. So looking at this here, where do we start? Because this is the midpoint, we're going to start with the midpoint formula. Not so. What is the midpoint formula? x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. This will give us the x coordinate of the midpoint. Not so. And this here will give us the y coordinate of the midpoint. Together it makes the midpoint coordinates. Not so. Now because the midpoint is given, I must work in reverse of course. No? If I make this x1, y1, then this will be x2, y2. And this will be x mid, y mid. Can you see that, people? Why? Because that is the midpoint. It is the end points which is x1, y1 and x2, y2. Can you see that? So let's go with the formula. x1 is negative 3 plus xp. Let's just call it x over 2 is equal to 7. So they have set up an equation now in pursuit of calculating x. Okay? Let's go on the other side. y1, what is y1? 6 plus y over 2 is equal to? Set up another equation, a different equation in pursuit of calculating y. So what do I do now? Let's look at the first equation. What do I do now? Cross multiply, she says. Not so? Negative 3 plus x times 1 is negative 3 plus x equals 2 times 7 is 14. So x equal to 14 plus 3. What's 14 plus 3? 17. Verstaan julle? Verstaan julle? Ja, meneer. Huh? Why don't you understand? The Afrikaans? Huh? You don't understand? Okay, let's go again. Jody's not with us? What's your name? Jordan. So, that's close, no? Okay, so because it told us this is the midpoint, we must use the midpoint formula. Not so. Are you with us then? Okay, they told us. And they gave us the coordinates of M, which is the midpoint. Now in the previous sum, when we use the formula, we ended off with the x midpoint. Can you see that? And we use the formula and we ended off with the y midpoint. Not so. So from that deduction, we can deduce that x plus x2 over 2 is equal to x mid. Not so. And the other end, y plus y2, y1 plus y2 over 2 is equal to 1. You with me there? Now with that information, I'm going to the next sum. Shukran. With that information, we're going here now. Okay? Yes? Okay, shukran. Okay. So x1 plus x2 over 2 is equal to x mid. Remember, with the midpoint is going to be x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. Not so? But that is going to give us, it will be equal to the midpoint, x midpoint and the y mid, the coordinates of, the y coordinate of the midpoint. You with me there? So remember, x1 and x2 are the end, the terminal points, the end points of the line. So that's going to be x1 and y1. This will be x2, y2. Okay, so let's do the substitute. And this will be, of course, the midpoint, m. So that's xm is 7 and ym is negative 4. So let's go now. You would say x1 is negative 3 plus x over 2 is equal to x mid, which is 7. Not I would say x, no? y1, which is 6 plus y2, or y over 2 is going to be negative 4. You see? People are can't help but stuff is so easy. I know you guys are getting upset. You say you don't feel like in grade 11. So you got negative 3 plus x times 1 is negative 3 plus x equals 2 times 7 is 14. Now we solve for x. They get over x is equal to 14 plus 3, which is 17. On the other end, that's over 1, we cross multiply. So it becomes 6 plus y is equal to negative 8. You take it over the equal sign. So y is equal to negative 4. Therefore, m is 17 and negative 14. Okay. Is there any confusion there, people? Not yet. Okay. Let's go to number 3. What? The textbook here? The 3 is positive. Did I make a mistake? The textbook wrong. Okay. They use that 3 to be. You see where they made a mistake? They got 7 is equal to xp minus 3 over 2. No? And then when they cross multiply the 2, they said 14 is equal to xp plus 3. Did you see that? Supposed to have been minus 3 then. Okay. So, yes, we are right. Okay, for once. The textbook is always right, isn't it? Just say yes, man. Don't be like it. You think it's easy writing a textbook? You write a textbook and you will see. Monday, nice, I'll wait. Right, here we go, people. Example 3, and example 3 is on page 83. So the guy that wrote this textbook did a very good job with geometry. I just love the geometry here, no? And many other things as well. Even the section is nice. People, in example 3, we are told P, which is negative 4 and 7, Q, which is 4 and 5, R, which is 0 and minus 1, and S, which is X, S, and Y, S, are the vertices of parallelogram P, Q, R, S. People, if I tell you parallelogram, 4 things come to mind. What are the 4 things? Opposite side, 2 pieces of opposite sides are equal. 2 pieces of opposite sides are parallel. 2 pieces of opposite angles are equal. The angles bisect each other. Looks like Jamie is studying a little bit, no? Oh, it's on the board. Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, I was almost going to give you a packet of pop for nothing. Right. But it was showing you on the board. Right. M is the midpoint, people. M is the midpoint. So we must use midpoint formula. Okay. The question says, determine the coordinates of M, the midpoint of PQ. Determine the coordinates of M. So how do we go with M? Midpoint formula, not so. So we say M, which is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Not so. So, if you're looking at this line here, I won't be able to work out the midpoint because my S is also unknown. Can you see the coordinates of this? It's also unknown. Okay. So you must use P, which is negative 4 and 7, and Q, which is R. My mistake. 0 and negative 1. Right, so if we make that x1, y1, it will be x2, y2. So the M is going to be minus 4 plus 0 over 2 and 7 minus 1 over 2. So the M gives us negative 2 and 3. Is that correct? Check if I'm right. Negative 2 and right. Now I'm feeling better. So I got the sum right. You guys also feel like that at times? She says no. Which means to say, you're never working on your own. You're never studying. I remember you must write your name down. What's your name? Say. Oh, you, okay. Okay. I was remark your paper yesterday then, let's see. Right. So I thought Nita is the one that actually studies, but according to what she's saying, she's not studying, okay? People, the next question is what? The next question says, if M is also the midpoint of QS, but it's showing there, not so. The coordinates of S. So what am I doing now? Backwards, he's saying. You're working in reverse. Alright. So now, We got the line segment here. We got the midpoint. We got an end point. So let's make this Q, which is 4 and 5. The midpoint is negative 2 and 3. And the other end point is S, which is X and Y. So if I make this X1, Y1, this would be X mid, Y mid, X2, Y2. Verstaan julle? Alright. Wat die bietjie oop? Alright. So let's go. We write the formula. X1 plus X2 over 2 is equal to X mid. Not so. Y1 plus Y2 over 2 is Y mid. Let's do the substitution. It will be 4 plus negative 2 over 2. No. X1 is 4 plus X over 2 is going to be negative 2. Not so. And then Y1 is going to be 5 plus Y2, which is Y over 2, is equal to 3. Okay. Let's take this out there. So what do we do now? Cross multiply. There's another way to do it that you can pick up in that video, the extended lesson. So 4 plus X times 1 is going to give you 4 plus X equals 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So X is negative 8. This is naturally over 1, we cross multiply. 5 plus Y times 1 is 5 plus Y. 2 times 3 is 6. So Y is equal to? So therefore S is what? Negative 8 and? Does it make sense? You see the nice thing about analytical geometry? Most of this answers will make sense on the diagram. Can you see? There's a negative 8. If that's negative 4, then of course negative 8 will make sense. Can you see that? And so on. Alright. People, that basically brings us to the end of.
Your attention please. All learners participating in the fashion show to meet in the hall now at break. All learners who are participating in the fashion show to meet in the hall now at break. Thank you.
Alright, so people listen. At this point you should be able to do exercise 4.1, okay? But there was a problem. Okay, we'll just stop here.